Okay, you know, guys, so basically, I want to tell you a bit about the program. It's the Journey to World-Class Asset and Safety Management. So, just quick introductions. So basically, though, what I want to tell you about business intelligence that's been at the heart of the transformational change. And I suppose it follows nicely on some things Martin talked about the people piece as well. So we'll hopefully demonstrate that. And it's no such thing as perfection around it, just because it's about people, obviously. So quickly, very quickly, I'm actually the one of the directors of the Enterprises Asset Management Group, but at the moment I'm doing a bit of work as the Program Manager for the Asset Management Improvement Program at Tube Line. So very quickly, I'm going to tell you a bit about the performance of the company and hopefully show you why they perform as they do. And then go through a bit about the actual program and the business intelligence that has been achieved at the organisation, which has enabled the performance measures in that. So, we were Tube Lines, we're now JNP AP, which is JNP, German Northern Peak Asset Performance. So, we're part of Transport for London. Within the actual other parts of the organisation, there is obviously London Underground, who run the other 6 lines. Then there's the DLR, there's Tramlink, there's Overground, and there's basically Crossrail at some point in time will actually become part of the family, or part of it will. So hopefully I'm right there, June.
It's already is part of the family.
Okay, it's already part of the family. So it's one of the key things around this organisation, though, is you've all seen the different things. 150 years old, so what we do about managing the assets and the information around that core part of the business, it shows you the amount of complexity that we have around this, because you've got so many ageing assets and obviously the new. So we need to join all this up through intelligence and that to actually leverage performance improvement. So we're gone. So we're not there anymore. So basically a quick bit about the vision. Our vision was to work together to deliver an outstanding tube for London. So we had 500 million passenger journeys per year. And the rest of London Underground, which now we're part of their vision, providing a world-class transport service for our customers. And that world-class is key because the AMIT program started 3 years ago, even though we were Tube Lines, and it was a journey to world-class. So it fits nicely into where they're going, or where we're jointly going. And they have combined, 1.1 billion passenger journeys. So what I'm really, we basically have half the amount of passenger journeys in those 3 lines, just under. So basically what we're responsible for, 41% of London Underground's assets, 13 asset classes. So basically all the trains, transplant in respect of engineering trains, tamping machines, emergency response unit, can't see this myself, the track, obviously signals, civils, stations, so, and obviously a big investment program as well. So upgrades, Jubilee and the Northern Line TBTC, which is the signalling upgrade that's going on at the moment. So he's gone. But anyway, it was quite interesting. It's quite an interesting point. He came from the military, and he's obviously this is a railway environment, very historic, obviously, the life of London. But he basically, when he came in here, and this is obviously from the corporate material, that he was very impressed with the safety, reliability, and the performance of the group of Tube Lines. But now he's gone to Greater Manchester, I think. So he was out there stating our improvements. So how do we compare against London Underground? Well, an independent report found that we were 26% cheaper than London Underground, and through performance measures, we're 30% more reliable. Some of the key points I'll throw up here, will show you how some of this came about. It's obviously about the people, but we'll show you some of the things behind it. Maintenance compliance to standard, that means are we maintaining a safe, compliant railway and all those assets. We used to say we're 60–90%. We didn't have the intelligence. Once we put all this intelligence in, we found we were only, we used to say we're 100%. We only found we're 60–90%. Quite amazing, and it's amazing the amount of companies we've spoken to us that come to see us worldwide and been out to visit. And when we go through this detail, they all go, we don't know, when you understand what that question is, going back to what Martin was saying. Based in the last 2 years, though, some of the performance things, improvements have been 0 delay days, have increased by 40%. I mean, some of those didn't really exist a couple of years ago. And stimulate fluid is half the amount, and the cost to maintain them is considerably different, half the price. Mean distance between failure, that means distance travelled before a failure, if people understand that, is around about 4 times better. So why is that? We maintain differently because we have the intelligence. So talk about reports, how many they get, about 80 to 100 reports a day. Not everybody, it's all automated, but basically what we can do with this is that we can do more equipment-based maintenance. We basically can be much more informed about reliability. So the actual train service, as a summary, is a lot better. We also can know who's making the repeat failures. Is it the same person? So we can push the competency of people up. So all this intelligence gives us a better performing service for the passenger, but cheaper as well, which is what it's all about. So that just comes with basic intelligence. Another thing, and this is not about system, but around the frameworks, the Olympics was a key piece obviously last year for London and the world, and the Jubilee line was one of the main lines. Obviously the whole underground was under pressure there, but the Jubilee line was the main line out to the stadium. So we moved it from an external contractor back inside tube lines, and moved it from systems, and it's not here about the system, but to give those same kind of intelligence we had in the line above, in the Piccadilly line, to that line. And we basically doubled the mean distance between failure, because again people have the intelligence and the insight. So that was just over a year. We needed to do that because obviously it was critical. So Boris, after the Olympics, said he wants more. You know, he did very well out of the Olympics, obviously. It was a great event, and he wants 30% reliability improvements across the network. So where we are as an organisation now, this is London Underground and TfL, they're going to be pushing for better, 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 which you'd expect. So, come on to the next section. How was this achieved? And it's achieved via people, but where do we start from? When we actually looked at the organisation, we found we were this, like most organisations, a load of applications. You can see across all those asset groups, and we didn't, where were we making, what kind of decisions were we making across the whole enterprise? Were we going in the same direction? If you don't have the information, you don't know what you don't know is the basic one. And you can clear and hit those low-hanging fruit of efficiencies, but when you're in a safety environment, you need the intelligence to actually get better and better and better. So this is really key. So the program we put together was the Journey to World-Class Asset Management, and it was the vision, strategies, program, the organisation, the tools, and obviously I've just put the BI, made it a bit larger. Sorry if you can't see this. To facilitate the journey. So it was really about the total business transformation via information. And we also had to understand that the organisation moves at different paces. So certain parts of the business have more intellect and more intelligence. Management, question mark, in certain areas. So we basically we were saying we wanted to go to competent, advanced, to world class. And we understood that each asset would be on a different journey, but they had to come through the same framework. So, sorry, you won't be able to read this, but basically a couple of key things on this, you'll see in the slides, that we wanted standardised processes so we could actually have standardised outputs, optimised decision making. It was about timely, integral and accurate conditioned information. And for me, it was a key part was obviously where we get the return on investment is the standardised output reporting, KPIs and intelligence. That is absolutely key. But you can only do that if you've got data integrity. We had a rules, no spreadsheets. So from the exec down, there was no spreadsheets involved in this. The culture had to change. And so the information that pervades from at the bottom of the organisation goes all the way to the top and nobody could touch it. So it became now, everybody's very naked as well. So, but it's all about as well a competency community around asset management and information-led asset management, and actually to deliver the program a very phased approach because it's a big transformational change. So basically, sorry you can't see this, but our remit was people, process, obviously systems, data and reporting, everybody understands that. But one thing we made it, we actually got it to be a board A corporate objective, only 1 in 6. So the steering group that we managed basically was pretty much lots of the exec in the steering group. So it was a reversal of them, us having to present to them, it was a reversal back the other way. So the buy-in was massive in that respect. Because we needed top-down buy-in as well as bottom-up. This is more about, I'm going to flip through some of these pretty quick, of how it supports all the decision-making across the business, into your business plans and across your asset management policies, etc. Okay, so where did we start? Basically, we started by trying to understand what was the information required, what was the quality, what information did we need, and then the program itself we put together. There's a lot of strategy writing and a lot of signing off by senior people and a lot of communications to the business. To understand the governance, the assurance, the data, all of standard data dictionaries in respect of it, so we could get this, everybody in the organisation working the same way around our asset management practices. And in the end, obviously, the analysis and reporting, what did it need to look like, which is what we'll come on to. So very quickly though, we pulled it all together around enterprise asset management, via a framework. We use Maximo. This is not about Maximo, but basically it enabled us as a framework to do what we needed to do as an organisation. But it was all about the process, about common business views, optimised processes and uniform metrics and uniform reporting. So we worked out what that should be with the company, because if we needed to know, in lots of organisations you talk to, what the information they really need at all levels in that. So we actually set out and wrote report strategies before we started off across the whole company, so everybody understood where we were going with this. Sorry, you can't see that. That's a picture of the organisation level 2, and that goes across the whole asset definition, registration, work management, into stock logistics, procurement, finances, and into your performance, your performance management, your reporting, all that side totally understood before we started. When I say totally understood, sorry, I'll take that back, understood. Where were we going? Because basically what we had to do then, obviously, that was going to be ongoing. But it was getting the governance and all the stakeholders involved. So we started very simply with competent, controlled asset registers, work plans, basic planning, and then moved on. The more and more advanced we got, the more and more required people wanted more about this. So we need more exacting data, greater cost control, greater productivity, greater visibility. So as we're going towards more advanced asset management principles that we could bring in. But it's nice because you've got the framework, you can just bring people along. So this basically, those for me was key. We had to move, and basically because obviously London Underground, 150 years old, and not saying everybody works old school, but we had to really move towards an information culture, and this has been the hardest thing. So every time I sit with the CEO, and there's been a few of them the last couple of years, every time I sit with them, I bring this slide up in a one-to-one and say, we're still having problems, You know, it's the leadership, the management required to support the culture change and moves to information culture. So, for me, the key parts were obviously process, but we had the system, the data. But what we wanted from all this, it wasn't just data for data and information for information's sake even. It was about outputs, reporting, optimised decision making, all parts of the company, from the guys actually on track or in the actual production shops, all the way into the exec and the actual investment programs, that we could get the right information. And it's the same information. There's nobody else, there's no schools of pockets of people doing all this. It comes from that single source of truth. And that's what it's all about. It's all about people underpinning it. So, coming into some of the business intelligence stuff. So what we found, we had pockets of systems everywhere, obviously, got rid of that lot, but actually then the actual loads of different spreadsheets. Why? Lots of smiley faces, lots of traffic lights. We said traffic lights, not yet, because what do the traffic lights really show you? They don't show you the detail and the granularity that's needed to run such a safety critical complex environment. So definition of reporting strategy, reporting frameworks, common look and feel. Basically we have reports scheduled, building a report tracking application to understand who is using the information. So when we do the same people in one asset area, are they using it like another part of the organisation? Why are they not? You can start comparing all this. So we basically automated the reports and that as well, which I'll come on to soon. And it encourages asset zone and geographic zone comparisons, because all we're trying to do is have an internal benchmarking to improve the business performance for the fare-paying passenger. So this is the conduit to do it. It improves the business behaviours and performance. There's no hiding. So very much when we started, the frontline staff, planners all the way down, nobody can touch the information unless they're actually on the front line, and it's actually the processes in the system enforce that, but it goes all the way to the top. And as we get better and better and better, we want a detailed report so we truly understand our business before we go into actually some of the high level stuff. So we set up frameworks, nice and easy, but we always started with the operational work management, assurance, compliance, performance, and the actual reliability, and then into productivity and costing. So this is just from the intranet, so basically you can click on anything and get all the report catalogues. So a new starter will come in and they'll have a report catalogue that tells them all the reports that are available for each of the different asset areas as well. Now this is key for me. We set up report mailboxes across the organisation. So we automate our reports, and we've got there's thousands of reports, and that's not exaggeration, that go out every day across the organisation for every meeting and every event that's on. Okay, so if we look at, there's a big meeting that happens 8 o'clock every morning with London Underground and TfL, and that was what happened 24 hours before. So the guys used to walk in and they used to get on the phone, what happened to the night guys? You know, emails, got to check my email. So everything's automated. They come in, and the inbox is a report that tells them what's happened and all the different faults that may be talked about. What was the history relating to the asset? When's the next maintenance going to be due? When's the next? What's the corrective work bank? So they've got the intelligence. Now we don't send everybody to that meeting, sit around a big boardroom. One person has the meeting. Nobody else needs to attend because they've got the information there. That's what it's all about. It's also then used for reliability meetings during the day. So this, everybody gets reports dependent on who they are, what job they do, and what role they do, and what meetings they turn up to. So before they go, and they all understand what kind of information they're going to be getting, because the whole organisation is working with the same kind of information sets. So it's really, really, really key. Very key. But the old CEO, I showed you the picture, he wanted all the reports, which is really quite interesting because he's from the Air Force and he's quite analytical. He's a doctorate, blah, 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 I think, PhD or something, wasn't he? Do you know what he was? Anyway, so he basically, so he liked information, but he could then, if anything happened to that, he had it at his fingertips as well. You know, he didn't need to ask anybody. I mean, he obviously wanted to when he needed to talk to them, but why? But he had all the information. So, scheduled reports, and this is key for me. It really changed the organisation because it wasn't people just doing what they think they should be doing. It really, really helped. And I know you've got to work with people, and this business transformation, you've definitely got to listen. But there comes a time when you want no excuses for not knowing, and you basically want to say, well, you know, basically the information's there. Why haven't people done things? You know, people say if you can't change the people, you change the people. And lots of companies we deal with in that, they actually, some of them have got successes. They do need to change key people. So all these reports that come out, what they do, they actually have total visibility. It shows you who's getting what, all the way up to the top. It tells them, the report tells them what the whole thing's about. It's a nice reminder. It's on the report catalogues anyway. But what it does, it means that everybody's got the same information set, and it's against the key processes and the strategic objectives of the company. So that's what it's all about. And there's loads of them. So how do we run this complex kind of program? So we had to make it very easy. So we basically said, okay, let's just pick some basic pyramids. And in the organisation, the first thing we need is an asset register. If we don't have that, how can we manage our assets? But that's continually changing. People are touching the assets, etc. So that needs to be at 100% compliance. Are we running a compliant railway to standards? That needs to be 100% as well. Reliability. These just look like simple measures, but behind it there's a lot of work, and there's a load of parameters that actually roll this up to get the scores for each asset area. So each asset area has one of these, but we know where we are. Productivity, costing. How optimal are we about planning, scheduling, getting access to stations, getting access to getting the work done? You know, are we waiting on materials? So it's given us the intelligence, but it's understand at a high level what we need, and then obviously towards all the embedded decision support tools. And we're working towards that now because we're doing going to the latest version of Maximo that's given us the extra bit of functionality to take the company through a more advanced journey. So if I look at quickly at a couple of these points, if we look at the asset registration process, now it's around the life cycle of an asset, not information, but information is within that. So we basically had pre-programmed a couple of, you have projects that do all the capital works, and you have operations. Projects actually want to get the work done as quickly as possible and throw it over the fence. But we need the information in a certain format because we're going to maintain those assets. So the whole thing needs to come together, but it's very difficult in most organisations. So basically there was processes, but they were disjoined. And how do you manage that? So the first thing we did when we came in around that basic process was to say, well, let's put a joint process together. It sounds stupid. Simple forms, hierarchies, data dictionaries, so everybody understands what it should be. Building into the project's gates process so they can't move past the gate unless information is handed over in a certain way. And then we need to measure that information and have visibility, which sounds easy, but actually is quite complex, the amount of building work going on. I'm sure Julian Crossrail understands the amount of complex amount of assets that are being actually dealt with. So obviously capitals need information. It needs to be handed over to operations in a very in a structured manner, and we all need the same information. So the whole company's using the same information set. Now, when I look at this, that sounds easy, but then how do we monitor it? So basically, we have automated reports that come out of the system. Hopefully, it's open. Hopefully, this will work. Let me back in. So this actually is sorry, it's hard to see. I'll just explain it. This is the Northern Line upgrade program that's actually happening now, and it's telling me at the high level. And this goes all to the exec. It just pops out in the inbox every Monday, ready for the meeting. And it goes off to the project manager of the Northern Line upgrade, to operations as well. But it tells us very simply, very high level, where we are on the program, very simply. And then next page down, oops, it's telling me the detail. So it's hard to see again. The signalling equipment rooms, it's telling me where we are against the actual process itself, and it was all automated, so we can see if we're ahead or behind of handing the information over, to what quality level, the information being ready, the study around reliability, to understand the information is in the system, ready for maintenance to occur. So this is something which may seem, it may seem just a lot of lines, a lot of graphs, but it's something which the organisation and the cost of getting this wrong is massive. Because we haven't got that information around your the maintenance, lots of the failings and faults that occur on the underground post all these works is down to not having that kind of visibility. So it's really, really key. Okay, so compliance, basic compliance. So we talk about how we use it and about, as Mark was saying, what meetings it supports. So this is just a simple report. Like I said, there's thousands going out, but this compliance report tells me, are we running a compliant railway and doing all the work we said we're doing against standard? Now, it's very much, it comes out to every single asset area, every day, and then it goes into a senior management meeting, goes into a pre-exec meeting, which is the top bosses of the operations, and it goes into the board report. It's the same report going all the way through, picking up as it goes at different time frames. So it's not just for our internal contractors, sorry, maintenance groups and that, it's for even external contractors that use it as well. So they may use their own system, but they still use it. So for example, we'll click on one of these and there's an example. We have, oops, is that up? No, okay, let's move it up. So there's a division called lift and escalators in the company. So they want to see at the high level all the work being done. And these come out every day. And then basically, further down, we want to see who's Accord, who manage our lifts. They're external. We want to make sure they are using the same reporting, the same intelligence. Our lift inspector group is internal. Coney, obviously external company, manage half our escalators, and TLES are an internal escalator group. So the same thing occurs. Then on this, we have the same look and feel for every asset area across the whole piece. And again, it's all automated, nobody makes these up, and all the business rules are set within the system against standards, so it works very differently for every asset area. And then basically we have for everything, we always have a glossary of terms, and the reason we've been that everybody understands what we're all talking about. And that has been very difficult. It might look at this one report, when you've got that on so many reports, that we all understand the exact language sets in the company. Because even when setting up just this one report, the amount of compliance isn't that, that's not that, that's not that. So it's very key, so we're all moving in the same direction for performance. Okay. Oops. So I'm seeing something a bit different. Okay. So again, we have, this is nice and visual, but again, understanding our work banks and our level of risk that are out there to the people that use the tube. We have to quantify that, and again, we do that via standard processes for every single asset area. So this is really key. And again, it all happens in the coalface, what the guys are doing on site. So they're the ones that are grabbing the information, but they've actually got to get it so right. They've got to understand why they're gathering it. It's not just for them to say they've done their work, they can go home now. They're gathering it for actual intelligence, so we can actually make the right, so the business can make the right decisions all the way to the top. So I won't click onto some of those, but basically the level of detail around some of this, I'll click on one actually, might as well, just looking at the time. The level of information we've got is, and this is just a quick, we have different reports in respect to this, is just telling me how I'm running various periods against the standards that are all set, and what my actual work bank is, the high priority stuff, which is pretty scary, some of it at the very top, down to the less scary stuff and that, but are we managing this? And then we can quantify the costs going forward of our work and then our people that we've got to actually do it. Okay, so basically data integrity. How do we make sure we've got this? Because we've got this whole framework that we use across the company, and very difficult because somebody can say, well, oh, it's the system, or I don't believe the data. They cannot say that. They can try and say that in the company, but people live and die by the data in the system and what comes out of it, which is really key. So we want to make sure that we've got the right information in it. So we do a lot of there's a lot of people that are responsible, not a lot, sorry, but everybody's responsible against their process to make sure the data within each of the work orders and that is actually really, really integral and right. So just quickly showing this, and I know it's hard to see, so some of this I have to really blow this up. So what we have a quick graph here, and I'll just explain it. So a general manager would be into his most senior management meeting, and he'll have to say some of his work orders are not well formed. And this is something which is, they'll go, what? I don't want to talk about individual work orders, I'm a general manager. But it's really key that we need to know if there's any issue with any of these work orders and that, because it generates all the reporting. So if we look at it, the track, I'll just grab one randomly if I can blow it up somehow. Here we go. There's all these rules. I don't know if anybody can see that. There's all these rules, and the system can manage lots, but we want time-based rules. So this one here, for example, is anything that's waiting. So the track guy's gone out, done inspection, and it's waiting in the system, it's high priority, and if it's waiting for more than 24 hours, it could have a bad response because some of those safety faults need to be done within 48 hours. So we need something to pick that up. So these pick it up, and these guys have got to make sure that everything's absolutely perfect. So the information is integral before it can actually, all this reporting can actually happen. So all these rules are all built into the actual organisation and the system, and it really gives us the intelligence to accurately make the right decisions. Same things quickly for reliability engineering and that, because we have to be, we're trying to obviously, the tube needs to be more reliable, and we need to be more intelligent around this. What we're finding though, I won't go into too much of the reports, but what we're finding is that we need to now change the organisation and move the organisation to be more intelligent to actually use some of these, to analyse lots of this information. Because we're actually getting such good information from the system now. So what it enables though, sorry it's hard to see this, it enables us, if you think of the underground, you've got like basically people that fix trains, fix pieces of track, and people that fix trains, the trains come in, and it's a much better environment to do reliability engineering rather than somebody has to walk out on track and they can only get access for a small part of the shift, long way to walk, etc. So it enables us to use the same type of reporting and intelligence across all the assets. So fleet are fundamentally very good because it's a production shop. It's like Toyota cars, they're very good at this. But we want to get those same working practices across different assets. So we use the same reporting. And having standard reports in that actually means that we can have it can actually support these processes to ensure they've got the intelligence at their fingertips, so we do get more reliable. So this is really key. At the end of the day, it's sharing across that whole wide range of assets, of asset classes, and taking the best from it and using the intelligence. And the same thing goes for productivity. So what we can look at here, we can actually look at any line, any contractor, any business group. We can actually look at any employee, and to have a look at how well are we actually, planning the work, how productive are we, why are some groups more productive than others. So production managers can look at this information and targets can be set, but it really gives us an understanding. When we actually started putting this all together, it was amazing what we actually found. The gaps were actually what they actually were, and the actual reliability and the actual productivity improvements we could make by having this intelligence. The business didn't like it, obviously. That was really key. So moving on, it's once you've got the information and all the processes working in the enterprise, it enables us to make this so much easier for the actual individuals. So Martin mentioned the maps and that GIS, and we have that links directly into our system. So we don't just have column reports. We have obviously graphs, but then we also have reports that are automated out of GIS. So you have all the details, but you've got the view of it as well. And what it helps as well is that it helps obviously with all that planning. So we have big screens up, all our planning, capital planning as well. So we can look at, say, all our operational work, look at capital spend. It can be it overlays in. We actually suck it in for an integration, or their work plans, and you can just map and model and look at the information to make sure the right investment models decisions are being made. So this is actually key. And again, just having a quick, I hope this will work. So again, this is, sorry, just a catalogue, this is the report catalogue, you can see it. So for each of the asset areas, but so this is like, this is track, this is all my hot spots, so you can turn things on, look at my faults, my worst performing areas. So you've basically got the intelligence now that we kind of never had before to this level of granularity. And it just really enables the organisation. And they want this, they actually want more and more and more. It's really, we can't keep them back from asking more at the moment. So you can search for assets obviously on GIS, you can bring things in, find a bridge obviously very quickly, and also all our real-time faults. This isn't just used for us though, we share all this information. So at the moment there's been a lot of cable theft, and the cable theft is actually something which is can actually affect the service quite massively. So just some of these graphs, sorry it's not coming up. Yeah. So this is all shared with the transport police, so it can actually show where all the cable thefts are actually taking place. So all this information is greater than just the internal organisation, it's shared much wider. Okay. So obviously what we can do though is have a GIS, so it makes it nice and easy to visualise it, and it's actually obviously everything's real time as well. The last thing I want to talk about is safety management, and on the safety management side, it's obviously key. It's part of, obviously we need to be in a safe environment. And just to use this as a quick example, they used to do a lot of everybody does inspections around safety, and there was a lack of structure, lack of governance, lack of process, lack of ownership, lack of guidelines. So very quickly, we got 65 contracting companies in a big room that do external work on our projects, and we asked them what their problems were, and they told us. So in 3 months we built an application, I built a system for them, and we just automated this. So all the contractors use it, also our own internal workforces use it, and it's really, really, really helped change the safety culture in the organisation, because again, through intelligence, having it, the insight that we can take from it is massive. So in the past, everything was done, paper-based or stuff, and there was a lack of guidance notes to everything. Now everything's scheduled. It tells people when they must do it, all the different inspections, dependent on who you're going to see, a contractor or a site. Information will go to the MD of the company. It's all automated via emails, notifications, escalations. So when we had the company in there, we brought the safety managers in and the MD of the companies that worked in our network. And they said they had no transparency, no information. So now when the guys go out and do an inspection, a report goes off with the inspection. It's just one report. With a scoring, an overall scoring, it goes off. If there's a negative finding, an automatic email goes off to the MD. But what we're actually trying to promote here, there's all these scorings, we're trying to promote behaviour change through this. So you can see all the details, but not worried about that. However, what we wanted the guys to do as well was to get them to actually make this more visual. So if somebody wanted to see who's doing something, this just lands in their inbox. We want them to name the person. So in their organisation, they can get an improvement culture off the back of working for tube lines, an improvement culture around good behaviour. And then obviously you've got your negative. So this is negative. So basically, which is this one? So drip trays required. So that's got an action that goes with it, with a time frame on it. And then basically that's negative as well, all the way through. Dirty toilet. So you've got, you've basically changed what you've done there. You've changed the culture, and you've got everybody who's involved in actually improving the safety. So then we can have safety awards, and now we can actually have dashboards, and we can look at initiatives because we've got the intelligence around. We're looking at initiatives on PPE. On working at heights, etc. So it gives us that intelligence now that we can run initiatives across everybody that works with the organisation. So that's all the output, but we've got to get that detail and understanding from the very start. So that was very key for us. So summary of critical, summary before I finish, a summary in that of what made this a success. And it's not perfect by any means because it's a continuing journey that the business will continue with forever. But we had board level commitment, understanding, ownership. We spent a lot of time on strategy and understanding the organisation, enterprise asset management, and what the facets of the organisation does. We involved the organisation massively from the start. We had owners, champions, everything across the organisation. It is enterprise. Tying systems together and what we do makes it a lot harder. If everybody's utilising the same system, your data rules, everything can be so much more easily managed through the system. And it includes business intelligence strategies for what the reports are about, for every meeting, for everything across the enterprise. It's a single system, it's a journey, and the organisation moves at a different pace, and it's all about obviously the process, and that enables you to understand your outputs, and the intelligence that the organisation needs. And if you understand the business, again, it's all about obviously the people, and you sometimes may have to change your people. That's another key one. So the journey continues. We're now part of London Underground, and we're trying to be more, there's a lot more integrations into operating systems, etc., that we need better intelligence. We want to be more fully mobile, and I was going to show a video, but I won't, around our mobile capability now that's basically about to be rolled out. We've got obviously increased intelligence and analytics. That's where we're moving to. We've got to be better to meet Boros's target. He's not giving us any more money to do it. He's saying, in fact, he's actually going to be, I'm sure, taking it away. So we've got to get 30% reliability. So how are we going to do it? Because it's a game changer. We've got to do it. It's about people in the organisation. So we've kind of transitioned from a kind of reactive asset management state, and we call them hero asset managers. They love it on their phones, running around looking busy, but why? Is it their job? Do they need to be doing it? It should be a role and responsibility. towards a proactive asset management, but we want to get to predictive asset management, where we fix before fail. And that is obviously key. We're in a good place because we've got all the system and everything, that pyramid going up towards that. You can try and do that up here, but if you haven't got the basis, you're building it on sand. So, you know, basically it is a journey, but you can advance that journey very quick. So basically for us in that, continuous improvement, we've got to be more safer, more asset availability and reliability for the fare-paying passenger. We want to, obviously we're going to decrease the operational whole life asset management cost as well. That is really key. I was going to show a video. How much time have I got?
5 minutes.
Oh, okay. So at the end of the day, wherever we think we are, it's not us, it's wherever the business thinks it is, it's only going to be, today's standard, it's going to be mediocrity tomorrow, especially with everything's moving. So we need to move with it, we need to bring the people along with the technology, but we need to, everything based on and around the analytics and business intelligence. We need to change the company, bring more people in to analyse, to do less people doing work, because should be doing work anyway. Some of these assets, are we touching them too much? The more we know about it, the more intelligence we know about it. The more we get new assets, we're actually integrating to that intelligence, the better decisions we can make. So it's going to be a changing environment. So just quickly, I've only got 5 minutes, haven't I? Yep. Okay, no, I've got one right. I'll just take questions here. Sorry, there's a little bit I'm going to do.
So just a quick one, you mentioned about the changing culture that's needed to accept some of this. What's the sort of way you're doing that in a way of, is it kind of drip feeding some of this technology to the user community to get it to be accepted? How's it sort of working? Is it quite easy to do?
Because we had some good, strong CEOs and understanding that did say no spreadsheets. People kind of in a way had to get involved. People also saw the advantage really quick. So that's why we did. You can no way do this in a big bang. And we had a phase program, and it was benefits driven. So because they could see the benefit, feel and touch it, it's all about making their life easier, which is what we're trying to do. So some people, it doesn't matter what you do, if you're going to try and give them something, they won't want it even if it's for free. So the majority of people though, they want to be recognised. I think of Maslow's hierarchy, recognition is the best at the highest. Money's third. At the end of the day, through this, they get recognised. It's an uncomfort zone to start with, but it becomes very comforting, especially they can get recognition for this, so it really helps. So all those factors, and then the reporting, the intelligence piece, really change the behaviours. And we did, sorry, just quickly, we did have a derailment, which was really key, because the derailment, it was not a passenger train, it was on an engineering train, and the next train to Heathrow was going to be a passenger train. So lucky that one derailed before, lucky the engineering train derailed. It changed people's mindsets because it just really enforced why. So that really helped. And not being rude, and that nobody was hurt, so it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Right. Gentleman at the back there. Sorry.
How do you measure productivity? And could you truly compare productivity like for like across the different assets?
Good, really good point. I should click on the report and show that, but I don't think we have time. Because we do. We actually have, there's a senior report that goes to everybody. It has productivity of all the asset groups. Now, you're right, you can't do it, and down to obviously your work types, your sub-work types, and do a low-level granularity of that. Basically, the company sets the parameters, because somebody like that's working on fleet in a production shop, they're doing 10 hours a day, their productivity is under 90%, because they've got to be there, they're working on the trains, they don't go anywhere. Something like signalling, that may be a response unit, that have got to be there, but they might only do one fault every 2 days. But if they're not there, the actual the journey time, obviously it affects the whole service. So that's all looked at. So what we also do, we have things called operational duty as well, to understand those assets where we've got people are going to be on standby time, that's actually monitored as well. But the business then actually looks at it very differently. So they're not looking at that everybody needs 90%, there's no KPI like that. So people that are working on planned work in a production shop, that's more like the 90%. People that are working in, say, an area where you're going to have to travel to from site, that's taken into consideration. And if it's response, it's obviously far lower. You're looking at potentially about 10%. But it gives us the intelligence to be able to actually look at that. And they're not perfect at it. Some areas of business are struggling massively. Some are doing well, some are not. But at least you can see where you've got the improvements that can be made. So this isn't perfect at all.
Most of these BI intelligence are supposed to affect your value chain in terms of costs.
Yes.
Most of these elements. How has it impacted positively cost-wise? Because what we see these days, like most of the time, TFL is always increasing the cost of transportation. So how will these or how has this really affected you?
Well, I mean, this kind of thing would actually it gives you visibility and to truly understand the whole life cost of your asset. That's what the whole thing's about.
So is it going down or is it coming up or what's the...
I can't make that call because we're only part of the company. We're only part of the company now, and I don't want to make any political call on the company. I'm not really the person to talk about that. But in respect of from what we've done here with tube lines, the costs have actually, you can see the different cost comparison I put up at the start. And I didn't want to harp on about that because we're two different companies. You can see the difference if you've got the intelligence. You know you can actually be more informed. You can challenge the standards. You can change your maintenance type, and you can get through it through your assurance engineers because you've got the information to make these calls. If you haven't, there's no way you're going to be maintaining assets like potentially you shouldn't be maintaining them. And I'm not saying people are doing that, but there's a possibility. So it gives you the intelligence to drive your costs down, definitely. But I can't give you an overall sweeping statement about what's happening on the underground. So.
Okay, time for one last question. Sorry, Tim.
Thanks. One of your early slides said data quality is really important leading to better decisions.
Yeah.
How do you represent data quality on your dashboards? How do you capture data quality at the leaf level or the lowest level? And how do you roll up data quality into decision making?
Okay, we don't catch it on the dashboard because it's expected. So, and the reason being is that report I showed you, and sorry I didn't explain it that well, because that gets at the pre-exec, so you have a pre-exec and exec meeting, and those reports, the general manager, not now, until basically the levels fall down low, because everything's at 100%. So the system enforces lots of the things around the processes. The exception reporting means that the data quality is not the quality, but the data is put in the right way. We then have people that actually check it because the reporting that comes from it is so is used by all parts of the company. About reliability and all that. So you do have somebody that actually checks that the failure code, for example, around the analysis of your failures, the right information is going in. They can also, because of the way that we've got the reporting, and we've only showed you a few of, like I said, the thousands that go out, because the quality, it picks up named individuals, and it's always pretty much the same people doing the same thing. To do things right and wrong takes the same amount of time. And so it easily picks it up, and the system will actually, not the system, but the reports show you who's doing things wrong. So again, it's kind of managed within the whole processes. So we don't have like a KPI saying data quality 90%, because it's part of every piece of the process. So that's why we don't do it. Or maybe I didn't explain, I need to kind of show you, which is a bit more.
I would say, if you bear back to what Martin was saying earlier, that data and information are two distinctly different things. The data quality is the inputs in, and what you're seeing on the dashboard is the information that's a result of. So, if we look at the consistency of the data quality, and it is actually the consistency of the data that is a critical element, not always that we set a bar that it's got to be above this bar, but it's a consistent sort of baseline across the organisation.
Where we have just equipment on that, where we have had problems around data quality is productivity, because people cheat, obviously, and we've got to find ways to stop people cheating the whole time, and that's, we can build exception rules, very quickly done, picks everybody out who's cheating. But because prior to the Olympics, it was all about reliability. The business didn't manage that piece. We're not the managers. The business had the visibility, but they served not to look at that as much as potentially they could have, because reliability was more key. Because obviously Olympics, we've got to get them reliable. So the focus on reliability, and that's why on that pyramid, productivity is at the top, so it's higher up, because it was the way we were shaping the organisation around critical events as well that were coming Olympics. So there's a big focus now on productivity, and everybody's getting picked up, and that's been cleaned up. It frustrates us because the intelligence they've had, they could have done this years ago. But again, the business itself and the management of the business wasn't ready to do the whole thing at once. So yeah. So that's what I'm saying. There's no such thing as perfection. You know, it's people.
Good. All right. Well, thank you, Andy. I think